Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Health and Wellness Show. Uh, Wayne Elliott here with my dear friend, Dr. Michael Garko. I'm up in Canada. Dr. Garko's in Florida. And we're back with you on the Truth Be Told radio network. This show will air every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is my pleasure to be with you again. Dr. Garko, good morning.
Good, Wayne. Nice to see you. Nice to be with you on the Truth Be Told network. I had the opportunity to speak with Kevin Gallagher, who's the CEO of the Truth Be Told network. He's a very nice man.
Yeah.
And learning more about the Truth Be Told network. It is a very big platform on many podcasts. I mean, I don't know, scores of different platforms that they're on. So the show is outstanding in terms of its reach for audience. I was truly pleasantly surprised to hear that from him. Lovely man. He took time to talk to me and everything. He's a good guy.
He is. I talked to him on and off for about a year before we went ahead with this, and yeah, it seems like a very good man. Anyway, we're back talking about your health and wellness, folks. And always great to have Dr. Garko with me. I wanted to mention one thing at the start of the show, Doc. I I've taken the smooth oregano that Strauss makes. Oregano is just so powerful. That's really my message here. But I started taking it a few years ago out in Kamloops at Strauss. And I must have had yeast because boy, did it work and work fast. Back then. And then I didn't take it for the longest time until I had COVID this last time. And I started to take it. It tastes good. I could never take the oil of oregano. It was just too hot and strong for me, give me indigestion. But I just became aware of something this morning now after having taken it daily for a few months now. I had a weak prostate from time to time. And just over these last few days, it's been longer, but sometimes you don't become aware of things exactly when they happen. But boy, my flow of urinating is good. I don't have the urgency. My holding seems to be much better. And I don't think I went too many times in a day. They say that 8 times we should urinate in 24 hours. And I'd say I was 8 to 10 times, I guess, depending on how much water and tea and so forth I drink. But now I'm definitely down to a maximum of 8 times. And as I say, I can empty my bladder fully. It's just things have changed. And the only thing that I've done different from my regular regime in the last few months is the smooth oregano. I put 2 droppers full of my water every morning, and more lemon juice. I always did use lemons. Now I drink about a quart per week, at least a quart a week of lemon. I like the taste, and I put 2 or 3 ounces at least in a big tumbler of water. And between those two things, that's what finally, those in combination were the only things I did different, knocked that virus off my lungs that I had for over a year. They told me in Halifax. And now this with the change in, and I've been a little bit procrastinating because I take so many things. In addition to Strauss, I take the vitamins and minerals and anti-inflammatories, curcumin, and so forth. So I haven't got right into the prostate formula again like I'd intended to. Notwithstanding that, I've done so much better, and as I say, I do believe it's that smooth oregano. Very powerful.
Well, oregano, it's an ancient herb. And in my training in part of my training, botanical medicine was a big part of it, and learned a lot about oregano. It's part of, believe it or not, it's a mint family herb. It comes from mint. It's associated with mint. And it's native to the Mediterranean region, the Mediterranean basin, Italy, Spain, France, Greece, the Middle East as well, and Southwestern Europe. It's grown and cultivated on most continents under a variety of conditions. Oregano, the Turkish oregano, they grow it in the mountains, for example, in Turkey. That plant is so robust. It is so has such an ability to withstand the elements. The reason why I share this, it has antiseptic, antibacterial, antiviral properties. Well, that's in the plant. That was designed by nature to protect the plant from insects and disease and the weather. But as it turns out, that's nature's gift to us. The benefits it confers to the plant, it also gives to us.
Sure.
And so that's why oregano, the Greeks and the Romans used it as an antiseptic for treating skin sores, aching muscles, stomach aches, coughs, colds, respiratory diseases of one sort or another. So this goes back thousands of years. And if you go on pubmed.org, Wayne, if the audience will do that, you type in health benefits oregano, you will see one study after another on oregano. It is really a truly wonderful, wonderful herb. It's been written about in all these botanical books going all the way back to the early 19th century and earlier than that. So it's been part of cultures forever. The one tip I shared with you off air, if people take oregano, they should also make sure that they're also getting a probiotic into their body, because oregano doesn't discriminate between the pathogenic bacteria and the good bacteria in your gut. It'll wipe out the good bacteria as well. So you should always take a probiotic with it.
Yeah, I mentioned the probiotic I use, Doc, is European sauerkraut, green
Yeah,
cabbage.
that's old school, man.
Yeah, yeah. Fermented vegetables are good probiotics as well, and people can maybe save some money. I know they're very expensive, but um, yeah, it's something. Most of my life I thought oregano, and I never liked it. Some people put it in a pasta sauce.
Well,
I
it's
never
hard
liked
to
the
take.
taste.
It can burn and it
Oh,
tastes bitter, but
yeah.
Strauss has figured it out, right?
Well, I'm very grateful they did, because I was just never able to take it. And this is easy to take. You can take it straight too. It's spearmint flavored. It's not harsh. I have done that, but I've come to the habit of putting it in the water in the morning and gulping it down while I take my other capsules and vitamins and stuff. Yeah, I'm very grateful. I tried before, but I couldn't do it. So I just suggest to folks they might like to try it. You might be surprised at what happens depending on any issues that you're having. It seems to be a
Well,
great bug killer, Doc.
here's a real quick short list of the areas where you can glean benefits from it. It supports the immune system. It's an immune booster. Carvacol and thymol are the two chemicals in oregano that have antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory properties. That helps your immune system, because now your immune system doesn't have to work as hard to fight off all these infectious microorganisms. So it helps the immune system. It's good for your respiratory system. It's good for your digestive system. If you have gas, bloating, constipation, it's great. And if you have arthritis, any kind of inflammation, oregano has anti-inflammatory properties too, and it has antioxidants in it as well. So the carbachol and the thymol, that's the carbachol, that's really the thing that really makes it work. So you're right. I've taken oregano a long time, and there's some of those products you need the courage of a Navy SEAL to get it down.
That's right. That's
But
right. Well, thank goodness Strauss made this product, because I've taken it without any issues, and I'm just amazed. When I became aware of this in the last couple of days, these changes over the last couple of days, I should say, in the bathroom. Um, Now I'm thinking, what's next? What other benefit am I going to get out of this? I'm just going to keep taking it.
well, sometimes we take things. This is I've been doing this for decades. I've been my own experiment.
Me too.
Sometimes we take things and we'll notice an effect.
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you take an anti-inflammatory like oregano, you'll notice an effect. Or if you have an infection, you take oil of oregano, and it helps. Other things we take, we don't see any benefit, and then
Yes.
we can take compounds in the form of supplements where it's conferring other health benefits and we don't even know it. So
Right.
that's why this show and other health talk shows, really educating the audience about, oregano. Yeah, it can do X, Y, and Z, and here's why, and here's how. Is very beneficial for people to become aware of, right? So it's not only
Yeah.
with oregano, but everything that we talk about on the show.
Do you know,
Um,
Doc, another problem that seems to be a growing problem, and I certainly know more and more people as time goes on with the problem, is constipation. It's
oof,
not a healthy condition to try and live with. Jim Strauss used to say, "Death starts in the colon." And really, if you just think of your kitchen where you do your cooking, how long, or your bathroom, how long would you stay uh, in there if you didn't take the garbage out? So I've always been a big believer in cleansing and detoxing, the easy way, taking good products. Um, so I was talking to a friend this morning who just had a surgery, and he's suffering constipation for this first week after the surgery. And I'll tell you, excuse me, I'll tell you what, I take my vitamin C, ascorbic acid, in a powder form,
yeah,
granular form, that I stir into that glass, a tumbler of water that I take in the morning. And I got to tell you that when I do that every day, and I take between half a teaspoon and a full teaspoon, first of all, vitamin C does help all our cells detox right throughout our body. But the effect, I must say, that within an hour of taking that, uh, I have to use the washroom, and it's often diarrhea like, or very soft at the very least, very easy. There's no pushing or any of that stuff, which we're not supposed to do anyway. And so, and of course, people need enough water, Doc, and so many of us don't get enough. That's another key. But just to share with the folks, if you get the granular vitamin C and take it first thing in the morning before your coffee or before anything else, I think you'll really help with your any constipation.
yeah. Vitamin C is it's a water soluble vitamin. Along the water soluble vitamins are the B vitamins: B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B9, B12, and vitamin C. They're water soluble.
Right.
Vitamin C is a tricky compound. You're right. Sometimes if you the vitamin C will facilitate it will have a laxative effect.
Yeah.
Some people, Linus Pauling, who made vitamin C
Yes.
famous,
Yeah.
used to take 20 grams a day. How the devil he did that, I don't know. Because if you take too much vitamin C, you will get a laxative effect that can go too far. So you got to
Yes.
sort of know your own body and know where the right amount is, and you'll do well. There's something interesting about
And that's going
vitamin.
to be different, Doc. I just wanted to mention we're like snowflakes. We're all different from one another, different age, shapes, sizes, conditions. So that could differ from person to person to find that sweet spot. I think that's the challenge with a lot of today's pharmaceuticals, like blood thinners, is to hit where they want, to get your blood the thickness that they want it to be. I
Yeah,
don't think we were meant to have watery blood, or the creator would have put that in us, but nevertheless, that it is a challenge for them to find the right blood thinner dose for a person.
no question. Which with vitamin C, I had to get this into my thick head, even when I was doing my coursework, because I was taking multiple grams a day. This is what I've learned, and I can share with you in the audience. Over a range of usual vitamin C intake, such as 30 to 100 milligrams a day, I'm just talking about 30 to 100 milligrams from foods, vitamin C absorption is about 70 to 95%. So if you take 30 to 100 milligrams a day, you will absorb anywhere between 70 to 95% of that. Keep that in mind for a second.
Yeah.
Absorption of vitamin C decreases with increased intake. For example, 16% is absorbed at high intakes. That's more than greater than 12 grams versus 98% is absorbed at lower intakes, less than 20 milligrams. So here's the trick with vitamin C. Don't take a lot all at once. You're better to take small doses throughout the day.
Sure.
When you take a large amount, most of it does not get absorbed, and it's water soluble, so it gets pushed off into the urinary tract, and you're now putting it into the toilet bowl rather than into your system.
Right.
So that's an intake at intakes above 1 gram, less than 50% of the vitamin C is typically absorbed. So if you're taking, I usually take about 1 gram each time, 3 or 4 times a day, but less than 1 gram, I'm only absorbing about 50% of that.
Sure.
If I took 500 milligrams, I'd probably absorb most of it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a little trick on vitamin C. A little at a time, more frequently throughout the day.
Kind of like food, Doc. We're better off to graze than sit down and eat till we can't move at supper time.
Yeah, until you feel like you're going to explode. I mean,
yeah.
But Strauss, we don't make a vitamin C, do we?
No, Strauss does not make any vitamins and minerals. I've just become a big believer in them more these past 10 years, I'd say, Doc, with things I've experienced. Like you, I've always been my own guinea pig for a lot of these things, trial and error. And the minerals, the full spectrum minerals now, mind you, if I don't take them, you were talking about sometimes we notice effects and sometimes we don't. Well, the effect when I don't take the full spectrum minerals is a lot of leg and foot cramps, just like my mother used to suffer. So they are certainly a part of my daily regime. And for the most part, I think we get rid of what we don't use. I know that's certainly the case with vitamins. And I just found the right level of the full spectrum minerals. I take 4 of the capsules a day. I forget how many milligrams they are now, but yeah, so these are, and I think these kinds of things, because of our food, genetic modification, all the chemicals that surround us in this world, I really and truly do not think there's a more important time to supplement than now. I've never done as much as I've done in these past few years, that's for sure.
Well, most people, me included, my diet is not perfect. There are gaps and holes in it. And so I supplement strategically because I know where the gaps and the holes are. And so I supplement strategically. Just to your point that you just made about what we don't use, we spill off in one way or another. Maximization of body pool of vitamin C occurs at vitamin C intakes of about 100 to 200 milligrams. So you will get the maximum pool of vitamin C in your system when you take about 100 to 200 milligrams at a time.
Sure.
That's a useful thing to do. I don't know how Linus Pauling took so much vitamin C. He was, it's interesting. He won 2 Nobel Prizes.
That's right.
But there's a wonderful website. It's about Oregon State University. It's a Linus Pauling Institute. I use it all the time as a reference. I would recommend it to your audience.
Yeah.
Go to Oregon. It's Linus Pauling Institute, Oregon State. They have wonderful treatises and articles on health and wellness and vitamins and whatnot. He was so smart, Wayne, but he did become subject to criticism with the thing that made him famous, which was vitamin C. He was taking 20 grams, more than 20 grams a day.
Wow.
I don't know how he did it. I don't know how his system was able to tolerate that much vitamin C.
Well, he must not have wandered too far from the house. I can tell you that, Doc, because
he did not.
he'd be like a goose. The interesting thing, he got the 2 Nobel Prizes, and this is about 100 years ago, Doc, I know, was his work on that many of our health problems were not caused so much by what we did, but rather what we were deficient in, and that
Yes.
it was deficiencies that caused so many health problems. Deficiencies of vitamins, minerals, whatever. A poor diet. Um, there wasn't always uh, all the options that people have to eat that they have today. I mean, you live in a busy city, Doc. You've got probably your choice of 100 places that you could go and get something to eat right now. It doesn't mean they're all good, the fast food and so forth, but they didn't have that. When people grew up on farms, they basically ate what they had, and so I don't think in the old days it wasn't necessarily a well-rounded diet. I don't imagine there was a lot of fruit and vegetables through the winter time, especially in climate like here in Canada and the northern United States. So we do have those things available to us now, the foods, but again, with the genetic modification and that there so many foods aren't natural anymore. Um, I think supplements are just more important than ever. I really do. And
Yeah, and we can't get into it today, but vitamins are cofactors, they're coenzymes.
yeah,
All the vitamins, um, they help the enzymes work. Without the coenzymes as cofactors here, you, everything shuts down. No enzymes, you die. Enzymes make all the metabolic systems in your processes in your body work. They are the ball game.
yeah,
They're very underrated, but the vitamins help with they need the enzymes need the vitamins to work. So that's where they're important. And just put a point on this business about vitamin C. What we're talking about here is vitamin C toxicity.
yeah,
And if you consume over 2 grams a day, that will lead to diarrhea and gastrointestinal distress if you take it all at once. So
yeah,
if you partition it throughout the day, as I said, you'll do better with it. Um,
for sure. Yeah, yeah,
and
makes
it's
good
water
sense.
soluble, so it doesn't stay in your system. That's why you have to keep replenishing it.
Right.
The fat
Yeah,
soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K they get into the tissues, so they stay in the system longer.
yeah,
But being that they're water soluble, you excrete them quite readily.
that's true. Yeah, that's right, Doc. Something else I'd like to talk about today and remind our friends. Pardon me. Excuse me. Is again my favorite and the Strauss flagship product, the Strauss Heart Drops.
Hmm.
Uh, Doc, seriously, in 30 years now, or very close to 30 years, 29 and change, what I have seen from people, myself, my family, and many, many others, uh, if you have diabetes and you're suffering the neuropathy and the sore feet and the other symptoms, I know if you have had heart disease, if you've had bypass surgery, if you've had stents, angioplasty, uh, there, in my experience, there is nothing like the Strauss heart drops, and that's why I'll never stop taking them, Doc. And there are a lot of people who continue to take them, and I have stories of people that I know well that stopped. And if you're prone to cholesterol plaque, and you maybe don't have the best diet to compound it or what you're eating, but if you're prone to clogging, uh, that's why I won't stop taking it. It runs in my family. I had the problem half my life ago. Well, resulted in a heart attack half my life ago. I guess I had a problem before that. Um, and just what this has done for people, including myself, my parents, and so many people I know well, is really amazing. And Doc, it's painless. Nobody's got to cut you or go inside you or crank your ribs open or go into an artery. to do any of these things, angioplasty, stents, uh, um, they have to go into an artery, and so there's pain involved, there's recovery involved. I just think if folks, and you've said 100 times or more that prevention and planning may be the most important half of what we do. So, you know, don't wait. I actually had that heart attack, and was so lucky that 7 years or so went by before 6 or 7 years before I was introduced to the Strauss heart drops, because I didn't take anything else, and didn't improve a lot about my lifestyle either. So I was real lucky to make it. But since I think I've had very healthy energy level. I'm in my 70th year now. I've worked hard and can work hard physically. I still work out like you do, Doc. And it's just, for me, it's made life better, because I remember the years leading up to that, as I slowly uh, had less energy, I gained weight. And even after that attack, uh, until I knew I wasn't well, that's for sure. I got to a point I didn't want the phone to ring, and didn't, just wanted to hide out on the weekends and not deal with anything. I couldn't really do my job properly, crawling around ships. And when I started taking the Strauss heart drops, my life truly changed. I mean, the big thing was the energy. That was unbelievable to me. But it again, it can affect so much of your body. Blood flows everywhere. That's why we have these 50,000 miles of veins inside us, because every cell needs the blood. But even things like hair color, and I remember my lawyer came into me one day, and he bent down in front of my desk. He said, "Look." I said, "Look at what?" He said, "My hair's orange again." And his hair had gone gray before. And, it didn't do that on my head hair, but on my chest, Doc, when I was in my 30s, I was like a skunk from the top of the chest down to my belly button. The hair had gone gray. Now I just, to this day now, all these years later, I just have a patch about the size of a tangerine that's half gray up at the top. The rest is dark again. So it's the most important body function, and those Strauss heart drops are just something else. The Strauss family, they made those for Jim Strauss Sr., whatever it is, 40 odd years ago now, uh, after a massive heart attack. And, they've been doing their job ever since. And so I just really urge people, if you have any of those issues, if you have high blood pressure and your heart is the cause, the doctors can't tell us, but the Strauss heart drops have helped people lower their blood pressure. The Strauss kidney formula, that's what worked for my blood pressure. Turned out it was my kidneys that were the culprit. And but I just can't say enough about that formula, Doc. I've seeing's believing, as they say.
100%. I said this, and I'll continue to say it, and I have the evidence to support my claim. Everybody, literally, needs to be on the heart drops. Why? Because we as humans are prone to cardiovascular disease. There are very few people, when you look at the statistics, you can check my work, there are very few people who can get through this life and live a long life without having some sort of cardiovascular related issue.
Yeah.
Very, very, there may be a very small percentage. It's either going to be high, heart disease, high blood pressure, arrhythmia, something is going to turn up sooner or later. And usually turns up later if you do the work on the front end and take care of your system. The arteries are prone to be diseased. That's a fact. We've known that for decades. There's a reason why heart disease is the leading cause of death. Yeah. The truth be told, the leading cause of death is an unhealthy diet. But heart disease technically is listed as the number one coronary artery disease. The heart drops, I can't make medical claims. What I can say is that the heart drops will support your cardiovascular system,
Yeah.
period. 100% full stop. Go on, and when you look at the ingredients, aged, you have the aged garlic bulb, you got hawthorn fruit, European mistletoe, motherwort, cayenne fruit, hawthorn leaf and flower, bilberry leaf, and white willow bark. Each one of those compounds, if you go on pubmed.gov and type it in and look, you'll spend the rest of the week going through the research on each and one of these, every one of these compounds and
Yeah.
the studies that have been done. What's interesting, people in cultures throughout the world, long before there was clinical trials and all this great science, they figured this stuff out and used these herbs in ways to support their health. All of those herbs that I just mentioned are not new. Now we got scientific evidence to support their efficacy. They're all in the heart drops, which makes your cardiovascular system work better, last longer, and just generally do better.
Yeah. Jim Strauss, doc, used to say, making these herbal formulas is like your mother or your grandmother making a fine soup or a fine meal. It takes the right ingredients in perfect proportion to do that. You know, if there's too much salt in it, we couldn't eat it, or uh, you know, if you left out one of the ingredients, the cake didn't rise or whatever, you know, we wouldn't be eating it. So it's the right ingredients in the perfect proportion, and Strauss seems to have really had that down cold. Uh, I think of the 51 products they used to make, and just some amazing products. I love they brought back the Woman's Wonder for ladies suffering through their menstrual cycle times, and some of
Yes.
them really suffer. I mean, they
Oh,
miss work or school, the cramps and the discomfort's got to be something else. And this Woman's Wonder formula has worked wonders for women of all ages.
I have, let's see now, I had 3 clients. Now I have 2 who are men. One is perimenopausal, one woman, and the other is menopausal. I've had great success. You know, I I asked a couple of my professors. I gave them a call. I said, "Do you have any tips on helping treating women with menopause?" And they said to me, "Dr. Garko, if you figure it out, let us know." Nobody, it's
Right.
really up in the air. That so I put together a protocol, Wayne, that now includes the women's wonder drops. I have had great success with that.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, that product is really wonderful. I do other things in terms of lifestyle as well, but I had to sort of noodle through this, and even a couple of these professors, they said we don't, you know, I wish I could give you a protocol. I don't have one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was reluctant to take on these clients. Had never dealt with menopausal clients before. I said, "You know what? The heck with it. I'm gonna see what I can do. Maybe I can help." I just got probably lucky, but over the past year, I've had great success with this protocol, and now the Wonder Drops are part of that protocol.
Yeah. The Woman's Wonder, what it can do for the menstrual cramps, and
That's part
ladies,
of it,
young ladies.
but I use it with menopausal women too, Wayne.
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, everything connects, doc, so it's no surprise that it helps with that. That's for sure. But um, we've heard back, and in my own office years ago, when they were still making it, and they make it again now from popular demand. Uh, some young ladies took it once, 3 days before their cycle started, and never had the issues again. That always blew my mind.
Yeah,
Um, and worst case, it seems that this isn't something women have to take for years before their cycle. It just hasn't worked out that way. Whatever the formula does to help, it seems to stick, dog. It's not you know, it's not a 1 month at a time. So there's, again, ladies that worked with us here. Uh, 3, 4 months and never had to take it again. So it's just fabulous. It's like the results I got from the kidney, the prostate, uh, my mother, the bladder, my dad, several of the formulas, including the cardio common heart drops. The long lasting effects were wonderful. With pharmaceuticals, you take them for life for the most part once you go on them.
Yeah, by the way, if people go to straussnaturals.com, I wrote an article. You'll find it there. If you click on Ask Dr. Garko, scroll down, there is an education piece on, menstrual cramps and that whole issue. And somebody might say, well, why would you recommend taking the Wonder Drops for a woman who doesn't have her period anymore? Well, let me tell you why. Because in the Wonder Drops, there is blessed thistle herb, there is Ursi leaf. They got lobelia herb as well, and some golden root in it as well, and some other compounds. Those confer benefits generally that will help women. Dong Quai root. They got ginger root in there, marshmallow root. As I said, golden seal. They have a number of different compounds. Those will help generally, but they specifically help with cramping. But they also confer other benefits. That's why I include it as part of even dealing with menopausal women. I have them take the Wonder Drops. So for menstrual pain and cramping, 100% the women's Wonder Drops are tops.
Yeah. And for some of the urinary tract issues, Doc, which in my experience has increased over time. I don't know if ladies suffer with it more than men or more often, but most of my experience has been with females, um, and it can be very stubborn. I mean, bacteria may be the most stubborn in our bladder, kidneys, and in a man's prostate, but they're very stubborn and grow back quickly. And the results with incontinence and all the issues that people can have, leaking and urgency. And boy, my mother, until she took the bladder and the kidney formulas by Strauss years ago, um, my goodness, we were once driving to Florida together, Doc, my mother and I said, at the rate we're stopping, uh, it must have stopped 58 times in 2 days. I said, Ma, we're going to be a week getting to Florida. And I wasn't kidding. It was just unbelievable what she went through. And of course, the worst part for her is if that wasn't just inconvenient enough, Doc, she got up 5 and 6 times through the
A
night when she
night.
was sleeping and then had
Yeah.
trouble getting back to sleep. So it destroyed her sleep. I'm
Yeah.
sure she was getting none of the good REM sleep. And she would that became her biggest problem for a while there was just exhaustion, not sleeping. So
Yeah.
these things
It,
can really bugger us up.
yeah, when we talk about these products, we have to remember that they contain these herbal compounds. This is not like candy, right? These are chemicals, and chemicals have consequences, good ones, and they can have bad ones too when not used properly. But when you mention the heart drops, when you look at the literature, the science, and you take each one of those herbs,
Yeah.
and you what you can conclude is this: it's summarized like this, like with aged garlic extract, right? Aged garlic, like it's in the product. What do we know about that? It will it's known to decrease LDL and triglycerides. It emulsifies as fat in the bloodstream.
Yeah.
That's what the science says. Aged garlic extract is anticoagulant and antiplatelet, so you don't, and it lowers blood pressure, thereby lowering blood pressure. It increases blood flow to your extremities that you often talk about. It's antioxidant in nature. It reduces oxidative stress. Thus, you have this anti-inflammatory property in aged garlic. It reduces coronary plaquing, and it's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and antimicrobial. That's what the science says. I cannot come on air and say, if you take the heart drops, it's going to do that. I'm
Right.
telling you what the science says about each of those compounds.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can say legally is that the heart drops will support your cardiovascular system. The audience can figure the rest out on their own from what I said.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Another thing that amazed me, Doc, not only did my dad, my father, have his bypass surgery canceled by Boston Medical. This was after 3 months on the heart drops, after having an angioplasty, and they told him that he needed to have this open heart surgery. They canceled his open heart surgery. They were pretty amazed. But previous to that, they told my dad, just like his mother, my grandma, they told him this at age 60, Doc, that by age 65, he likely wouldn't know his own name or anyone else. My
Of
grandma
course.
had what they called hardening of the arteries.
Yeah.
And it was terrible because, she had a strong heart, but grandma, she really did mentally check out really before she was 65 and lived till 75, but
Yeah.
she didn't know any of us, and it was just miserable. You knew that there was a heart beating in there. You couldn't even swear that there was a brain functioning in there. So they told my dad the same thing was happening to him and was going to happen. And Doc, I swear on my life, my dad died at 70 in his 77th year of lung cancer. Uh, we believe largely caused from asbestos exposure over a long period. Uh, but and they also had a prostatectomy booked at Boston Medical that they canceled when my dad went on the Strauss prostate formula for 3 months, and he died with a healthy prostate, or with his prostate still in him, and not taking anything for it, and was as sharp as a tack. He never lost any part of his mind.
Hmm.
And this was 11, 12 years later. He died after they said he wouldn't know himself. So, I've just, as I say, what I've seen with these heart drops and experienced myself, Strauss always said they help condition the arteries as well. And
Well,
they had some success with, um, geez, aneurysm with aneurysms,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
I don't know too much about that, but I just can't. I think it's the greatest product that's ever been created.
Well, it is really a remarkable product with respect to, you allude here to dementia. And of course, Alzheimer's is one form of dementia.
Yeah,
There are a number of studies that suggest when you have um, maladies associated with the vascular system, the heart and the blood vessels that supply blood to the brain, that contributes to the development of dementia. This is not science fiction. Again, this is documented in the literature. So you got the carotid arteries that and side one on each side of the neck feed into the brain, but you have also small vessels in the brain as well.
yes,
Those can get diseased as well too. So if you have a poor blood supply to the brain, as well as the small brain vessels being diseased, I can see why it would contribute to dementia. So you're right about that. One of the things I've learned over the years now,
excuse me.
usually when you're treating heart conditions, heart disease, you start to help all other systems of the body. It's just how it seems to work out. It's biology. So that's why I keep saying everybody should be taking the heart drops, even if you don't have cardiovascular disease. It will confer other benefits that that will serve you well in the long run. It's easy to take. It's a liquid. It's a tincture. It's liquid. it goes, and you got cinnamon flavor too, which I like.
Me
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah, you can do that a couple of times a day. I get emails, messages on straussnatural.com. Ask Dr. Garko. Just had somebody day before yesterday ask me about the dosage level, and I responded to them. And I'm getting good response there. So I encourage people to go to straussnatural.com, click on that link. My articles are there. They're free. We don't charge you for that. There's a couple of articles on cardiovascular disease, and those are well documented and researched. It takes me a number of hours to write them. I just don't bang that out. So they're written carefully with good intention. I encourage people to go read them.
Yeah, they're great. They're great, Doc. Very informative. Um, I wonder. I don't suppose there's ever been a study except to say that um, being our biggest killer, heart and stroke. Stroke is a brain attack from lack of oxygen to the brain, which because of lack of blood flow to the brain. I wonder, how many people don't have any issue with plaque in their bodies or the stringy fats that seem to be in our carotid arteries. You've mentioned before with the young Vietnam veterans that they discovered these young men many years ago had issues, and these are for the most part physically fit um, young people. And yet, did you want to discuss that again a little bit? I'm just recalling our conversation from
Yeah,
a year or so ago.
remember what I said, that we are prone to heart disease, and people think, well, that I don't have to worry about that. That's going to happen when I'm older. Not true. Um, During the Vietnam War, and there have been other instances too. Well, when they examined the remains of the soldiers, they found that they had coronary artery disease. These were young men. It's truly amazing. And when we look at the remains of ancient remains, we find these bodies intact. When they examine those bodies, they go back 1,000 years and even further back. They also had displayed coronary artery disease. So, you ask the question, what percentage of people on the planet are without cardiovascular disease? I don't know what that number is, but I tell you, it's not a big one. Um, Most people die from it, and sooner or later, most people die from heart disease. It's truly a killer. So it's a small percentage. It's hard for me to believe that somebody could live 70, 80, 90 years and not have some sort of plaquing in the arteries. I mean, I don't know who those two people are, but I'd like to meet them.
Well, they had a great article. It was the cover story in a Canadian magazine called Maclean's a couple of years ago. And the title story was How to Live to Be 100 and Not Regret It. And
Mm-hmm.
was interesting. They had about a dozen people, Doc, that they interviewed. The youngest was 95 or 6. The oldest was 102. And they had several things in common. The one gentleman was asked by the interviewer, so you know, what do you attribute your, I think he was the 102-year-old. What do you attribute your good health to, your life, your long life? Not smoking and things like that. He said, hell no, I smoked for 66 years.
Oh,
And
geez.
he, now that I think that's more the exception than the rule, but what they all had in common was they didn't live to eat, they ate to live. And some of them were farmers, and they got some exercise even at their old age. The one fella said, "Yeah, I go out in the garden every day, get down on my hands and knees, and pick some tomatoes and pull some weeds." So he's using his muscles, he's stretching, he's got off the couch, and that was the two biggest things. That there was none of them overweight, so they truly ate to live, not live to eat, like I have done sometimes. And they did get some exercise. So and probably a simpler life too, Doc. Life used to be a little simpler. You worked hard, uh,
Yeah.
today there's such competition for our time, not all of it good. So, I just thought that was very interesting.
I was talking with someone. I was on a radio show the other day, and I forget the question that was asked. I ended up responding by saying, they asked me the importance of diet. And I said, well, nutrition, diet and nutrition are the driving forces to create health, wellness, and well-being. And I said, food was made to be enjoyed, and we should eat food to enjoy it.
Yes.
But also, you have to learn how to eat therapeutically. And those are not mutually exclusive. Eating health in a healthy way and eating therapeutically and eating for pleasure are not alien from one another. You can enjoy food and really truly enjoy it, but at the same time eat therapeutically. What I mean by that, eat to manage your health and wellness. Food is the major source of our health and wellness in terms of how does the body heal and repair itself? How does this help to prevent disease? It's through food. And it's right. About chemistry. So I know it sounds so obvious to say that, but eat for pleasure, but also eat therapeutically is the message.
Yes, and how you eat, Doc. It was Jim Strauss first told me the first time I went out to British Columbia and met him. So that's a long time ago. It's approximately 30 years ago. And we had a meal together while we waited for the train ride back across the country to my hometown here. And he had vegetable soup, and he was chewing and chewing, and I had their biggest steak, baked potato with all the trimmings, Caesar salad.
Of course you did.
Of course, right? And that's how I used to be. What's your biggest steak? And that's the one I'd have. So anyway, I said, I'm watching him, and I'm just plowing the food into me as usual. And I said, are you ever going to swallow that soup? It's vegetable soup, for goodness sakes. And he shot right back. He said, the way you swallow chunks, I'll bet you could put your finger on your tongue and your liver would start producing fat. And he said, look around the restaurant. Fat people like you are eating fast. And normal people like me are chewing their food and putting their fork down. And there's a lot to be said for that, Doc. Digestion starts in our mouth.
He was right. Our relationship with food is constituted of what you eat, when you eat, where you eat, how you eat, why you eat, and the effects of the food on your system. That relationship, and it's made up of behaviors. He was right. How you eat it's part of your relationship. Some people eat as if they're always late for work. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, my dad used to say about me, between how much I ate and how fast I ate, he'd say, you'd rather pay his rent than his food bill. He eats like he's going to the electric chair. And I did. And your body doesn't even get a chance to tell your brain that, hey, I've had enough now. You can stop. I used to speed up if I was getting full. I was taught not to waste. So, you'd eat everything.
Well, you learned that somewhere, probably in your childhood. That was right. And that stayed with this. The challenge, the biggest challenge the point that you're making, the biggest challenge I have as a clinical nutritionist, dealing with real people with real problems, is getting them to change their relationship with food, i.e., their behaviors and how they think and feel about food. Yeah. That is the key.
Well, I should have been smarter myself, Doc, because most of my career has been in recycling, specifically in the metals business, primarily steel, brass, copper, aluminum, stainless, nickel alloys, all of that. And what I do know and have known for decades and decades is, if you put crappy stuff in the top of the furnace, you don't get good pure metal out the bottom. You'll have a lot of slag, which is a byproduct, maybe like plaque, cholesterol, fat. You have to put good stuff into the furnace to get good pure metal out the bottom.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
So I don't think our bodies are any different, Doc. If we, and I'm a bad example, especially in my younger life, of how I ate and milkshakes and all the rest of it. But And just because it can look okay on the outside doesn't mean you're okay on the inside. That's for
Well,
sure.
when I'm in the recycling business too, what I'm trying to recycle is people's health.
That's right.
And sometimes they show up there like a junkyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their health is like a dumpster fire.
Well, it's
Um,
disturbing to see the obesity today, Doc, and it kind of breaks your heart when you see some people and some young people. And I'll say it again that it's not all their fault. There's so much deceiving stuff today, low fat foods and salt reduced, but they've reduced it by 1%. This kind of thing. So, anyway, we're coming to near the end of our time again,
wow,
and
boy, time flew.
it always flies when you're having fun, Doc.
Yeah.
Uh, so I hope we've, you know, hit a few notes with the folks today. That's what we are trying to do here. Yes, it's Strauss that makes this possible, the Strauss Naturals Company. Great products, safe, satisfaction guaranteed, folks. They will not keep your money if you're not satisfied, period. That's the end of the story. There's nothing required, just your say so that you weren't satisfied. You didn't get what you thought you would get or supposed to get. And Strauss doesn't have many returns. So I love that policy. You'll have no argument to get a full refund if you're not satisfied. So once again, folks, on the website, straussnaturals.com, the coupon code is the word truth, TRUTH, and you get a 10% savings on any order. That's truth at Strauss Naturals. That's spelled STRAUSS, naturals.com. 10% savings if you use the coupon code truth. The toll free number, if you'd like to talk to one of their fine ladies there, is 1-866-478-2873. That's 1-866-478-2873. And also on that website, you can find many of Dr. Garco's writings. If you click the Ask Dr. Garco, he also is religious about returning emails to folks. You will not be ignored. And we're grateful for Dr. Strauss as always. So this show will air every Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Truth Be Told Radio Network. Thank you again, Dr. Michael Garco. It's always a pleasure. I don't get to see you in person. We're going to do that very shortly, though.
All right, I'm looking
I'm happy
forward
to
to it.
say. Yeah, me too.
We're gonna go to dinner, and I'm gonna watch.
No, I'm going to behave myself, Doc. I'm going to behave myself. I'm going to put that fork down. You're going to think I'm a champ. I'll do my best anyway. Let's hope I'm not too hungry, Doc.
All right. Take
So
care.
thanks again. I will see you soon, Doc, in person
All
for the
right.
first time in many years. Folks, thank you for joining us today. And again, Thursday evening, if you're interested to listen to the show. And until then, stay healthy and God bless. Thank you all.